Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good evening to my beloved lecturer, Dr. Muhammad Faizal bin Basri, and my fellow teammate. My name is Abdul Muaz bin Azhar. Today we are presenting about financial position and performance. We have chosen healthcare industry as our main industry in this assignment. And this industry divided by four big companies, which is the first one is Pharma Niaga, that I will representing by Muhammad Rizwan bin Atan. Second one in IHH Healthcare Berhad, representing by Muhammad Syahmi bin Nazri. The third one, Apex Healthcare Berhad, representing by me, Muhammad Abdul Muaz bin Azhar. And lastly, KPG Healthcare, represented by Muhammad Azwan bin Abdul Jalil. Okay, so financial statement is the process of the examining and comparing financial statements in order to make business choices using analytical or financial instrument. Financial statements provide readers with information about our company's financial position and financial situation. Okay, what is the meaning by financial statements? Financial statements are written records that convey the business activities and the financial performance of a company. Financial statements are often audited by the government, agencies, accountants, firms, and others to ensure accuracy of the tax, financing, or investing purpose. The key takeaways about the financial performance is financial statements are written records that convey the business activities and the financial performance of a company. The balance sheet provides by the overview of assets, liabilities, and stockholders' equity is a snapshot in time. So the income statement primarily focuses on a company revenues and expenses during a particular period. It is more 1 year to 5 years. Once expenses are subtracted from revenues, the statement produces a company's profit figure called net income. The cash flow for statements measure how well a company generates cash to pay its debts, obligation, fund the operating expenses, and the fund in. Okay, these four companies are divided by two business nature, which is more to the healthcare services, which is hospitals, and the second one is more for the pharmaceuticals products. So the business nature of the healthcare services is KPG Healthcare Berhad and IHH Healthcare Berhad. And the second one is business nature of pharmaceutical products, which is Pharma Niaga Berhad and Apex Healthcare Berhad. So before we start our first point, I want to share about our company background that we have choose from the healthcare industry. The first one is KPG Healthcare Berhad, was established in 1981, providing of private healthcare services, has 28 specialist hospitals around the country, and have 13,000 workers. And the second one in IHH Healthcare Berhad was established in 1974, provider of private healthcare services. It has 80 hospitals in 10 countries and have 1,000 numbers of employees. The third one is Pharma Niaga Berhad, was established in 1994, was a pharmaceutical and consumer healthcare wholesaler. Then their HQ in Shah Alam, and number of employees was 3,000 person. And the last one is Apex Healthcare Berhad, was established in 1962, making pharmaceutical and healthcare products, HQ in Malaysia.
Okay, thank you so much to Mr. Abdul Muaz because introduce our company background. Okay, my name is Rizwan. Now I want to show you the revenue growth by company. Okay, the first company is KPG Health. This means the KPG Healthcare, the revenue growth in the 2018 is 3.4 billion. In 2019 increased to 3.6 billion, and 2020 is reduced or decreased 2.4 billion. As you know, is 2020 is a pandemic COVID, right? Okay. The other is APEC Healthcare. In the 2018 is amount the revenue growth is 653 million. In the 2018, they in, they increased the revenue growth 688.8 million, and 2020 the revenue grew to 699 million. So this company, APEC company, is more improved and consistent the revenue grow per year. And the Pharma Niaga in the 2018, the revenue growth is 2.4 billion. Then 2018, they increased the revenue growth to 2.8 billion. And the 2020 is a decrease to 2.7 billion. That means 0.1 billion is decrease about the pandemic. In the IHH healthcare, in the 2018 is 2.5 billion. Then the increase to 2019 is highest increase is 3.3 billion. The increase, yes. And other else 2020 is drop back. It's a decrease again. It's a 2.9 billion. It's the same like the other company in the healthcare session. That's all.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is Muhammad Azam bin Abdul Jalil. Okay, I will share about financial analysis. Financial analysis is a tool to interpret and evaluate company performance. By this analysis, it will provide company information to business manager by analyzing the data contained in the company's financial statement. Ratio analysis can be categorized into liquidity ratio, activity ratio, solvency ratio, profitability ratio, and market ratio. For your information, we have done the analysis by comparing four companies, which is KPJ Healthcare Berhad, IHH Healthcare Berhad, Apex Healthcare Berhad, and the last one is Parmaniaga Berhad. Okay, the first is liquidity ratio. It is called as short-term ratio. This ratio helps to understand the liquidity in business, which is potential ability to meet current obligation. This ratio expresses the relationships between current asset and current liabilities. Current ratio. The main purpose current ratio is to measure short-term debt paying. Generally, the higher the current ratio, the more liquid the firm is. The formula for the current ratio is current asset divided by current liabilities. As we can see, Apex Healthcare Berhad is the highest current ratio for the 3 years as shown in the table compared to other companies. This means that the higher the current ratio, the more liquid the company is considered to be. Okay, we move to quick ratio. Quick ratio is to measure immediate short-term liquidity. A quick ratio 1.0 or greater is occasionally recommended. But as with the current ratio, what value is acceptable depends largely on the industry. The formula for quick ratio is current asset minus inventory divided by current liabilities. For the analysis, we can see that Apex Healthcare Berhad still highest quick ratio from 2018 to 2020. Okay, second ratio analysis is regarding leverage ratio. Leverage ratio, also known as solvency ratio, is to measure the ability of the company to survive over a long period of time. To find solvency ratio, we use debt ratio and time interest earn ratio. Okay, we move to debt ratio. Debt ratio is to measure the percentage of total assets financed by creditors. The higher ratio, the greater the amount of borrowing being used to generate profits. Thus, the greater the firm degree of indebtedness and the more financial leverage it has. The formula for debt ratio is total liabilities divided by total assets. Okay, by doing this analysis, we can see Pramaniaga is the highest debt ratio compared to other companies. So, Pramaniaga has the greater amount of borrowing. Meanwhile, Apex Healthcare Berhad show the small amount of borrowing to generate profit. Okay, for this slide, I would like to explain about time interest earn ratio. The function of time interest earn ratio are to measure ability the company to pay interest payments as they come due. It also called as the interest coverage ratio. Measure the firm's ability to make contractual interest payments. The higher the ratio, the higher capability of the firm to fulfill its interest obligations. A value of at least 3.0 are preferably closer 5 to 5.0 is often suggested. The formula for time interest earn ratio is earning before interest and tax divided by interest. From this analysis, we can see that Apex Healthcare Berhad is the highest times interest earn ratio compared to others. The higher ratio describes the ability of the company to make contractual interest payment.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Syahmi bin Nazri. However, thanks to Mr. Azwan, so I'm going to continue the another point, which is today I'm going to share about activity ratio. Activity ratio, also called as a turnover ratio. This ratio measures the efficiency of the current asset and liabilities in the business concerned during a particular period. This ratio is helpful to understand the performance of the business. So, activity ratio have a two type. First, average collection period. The average collection period is the time taken for a company to convert its credit sale in terms of account receivable in cash. If we look at chart, state shows the average of 3 years of this company. The higher is Apex Healthcare Berhad, means Apex takes more longer SCP to receive a payment owed by its client. Second, we move to a total asset turnover. Okay, it defines a measure the efficiency with which the firm use its assets to generate sale. If we look at the chart, the highest company's average is Apex Healthcare Berhad, and the lowest is Pharma Niaga Berhad. So, in conclusion, we can make is Apex is more efficient by handling its asset to generate their sales. Okay, next we move to another ratio, which is profitability ratio. Okay, it defines a measure how effectively the firm use its resource to generate income. In other words, it measures the income or operating success of a company for a given period of time. So actually there there's two type of profitability of ratio. Okay, first, net profit margin. It define to measure the percentage of each sales ringgit remaining after all costs and expenses other than interest, tax, and preferred stock dividend deducted. So in conclusion, based on the chart, if we look here, IHH Berhad is the most efficiency at converting sales into actual profit. And the last but not least, the last type of profitability ratio is a return on asset. So ROA is for measure the overall effectiveness of the management in generating profits with its available assets. Okay, based on the calculated on the chart, if we look, the apex is the higher than these three companies, which is more effective in generating profit and generating available assets. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is market ratio. Market value ratio are used to evaluate the current share price of a publicly held company's stock. Current and potential investors use this measure to judge if a company's shares are overpriced or underpriced. These ratios are not closely to watched by the managers of a business. Since these individuals are more concerned with operational issues, the main exception is the investor relation officer. We must be able to see the company's performance from the perspective of even investor, and so it's much more likely to track this measurement closely. So market ratio divided by total ratio, which is dividend payout ratio and the price earning ratio. The first one is dividend payout ratio. This dividend payout ratio is the ratio of the total amount of dividend payout to shareholders relative to the net income of the company. The dividend payout ratio shows how much money a firm returns to shareholders versus how much money it keeps on hand to invest. And from the table, we can see that KPG Berhad has a consistent price in dividend price, which is have average of 0.4767 cent. And IHH Berhad in 2020 has a high price between these 3 years, 2018 to 2019 and 2020, and the average of 0.93 cent. And the third one is Apex Healthcare Berhad has in 2018 has a high price, which is 1 ringgit and 31 cent, and average of 0.5333 cent. And the lastly, Pharma Niaga Berhad in the 2018 has high price in which is 1 ringgit and 23 cent. So the average of 0.7867. And in the conclusion, we can see that for the dividend payout ratio, the company IHH Healthcare Berhad is a higher ratio than the others. And the second one is the price earning ratio. Price earning ratio are used by investors and analysts to determine the relative value of a company. Shares in apples to apples comparison. It also can be used to compare a company's past performance to its own. And from the table, we can see that KPG Berhad has a consistent price earning ratio, which is an average of 0.287 cent in 3 years. And the second one is IHH Berhad has a high price in 2020, which is 2 ringgit and 10 cent. So the average is 1 ringgit and 293 cent. And the third one is Apex Healthcare Berhad, which has the most high price in 2019 and 2020. In 2018 has a 0.17 cent, which is the lowest price. In 2019 they increased to 20 ringgit and 64 cent, and 2020 they increase more to 28 ringgit. So the average of price in ratio to the Apex Healthcare Berhad is 60 ringgit and 27 cents. And the last one is Pharma Niaga Berhad. It has a lowest price in 2019 and the highest price in 2020 is 0.48 cent. So we can see the average of the Pharma Niaga Berhad for 3 years is 0.23 cent. And the conclusion, we can see that Apex Healthcare Berhad as higher ratio indicates the firm's market value is overvalued. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, our clique, because they all explain about the ratio, all of ratio. Okay, in my session is I want to conclude is based on financial statement. Economical analysis show is important. It's important information because to be a company, to show the company is perform or not, and they have a debt, high debt or low debt per year. Okay, if you want to success your business in the Malaysia example, yeah, you must you must do analysis for you must do analysis capacity, do you understanding and control the risk in your company. If you control that, you can reduce the problem or debt very high, go to low, so you can get more profit for your company. As you know, in healthcare section is a many company, but our company have a different amount refer of the type of ratio. Uh, and each company is a different revenue goal based on the performance of the service and the product make per year. So I'm glad to you. Thanks because you all listening what our explanation in the healthcare session. Thank you so much.